You may be on the lookout for Lyme disease if you get bit by a tick, but there's another disease that could become an even bigger threat called the Powassan virus. This is a rare virus you catch from a tick bite, same way Lyme disease is spread. It's been spotted mostly in the region of the US around the Great Lakes. While only 60 people have gotten the Powassan virus in the past 10 years, it's caused 7 deaths. The Powassan virus. This is a rare virus.
There's no spot left where we've gone to look for them and haven't found them.
With the spread of ticks comes the spread of Lyme disease. 20 years ago, Dr. Paskowitz told her students about the 400 to 500 cases each year in the state.
Now when I teach the class, it's 3,000 cases every year. And CDC for Lyme disease would estimate that that's an underestimate by quite a lot. It's probably closer to 30,000 cases in the state. So that's a large increase.
While nowhere near as prevalent, another tick-borne disease, the Powassan virus, carries a serious health risk.
So it's a rare disease. We don't see a lot of cases. Unfortunately, it is a disease that can often have pretty severe impacts. People die as a result of Powassan infection.
While nowhere near as prevalent, another tick-borne disease, the Powassan virus, carries a serious health risk.
So it's a rare disease. We don't see a lot of cases.
This story starts with a conspiracy theory, but ends with just plain fact. First, the conspiracy theory is that the US government created Lyme disease. Lyme is an autoimmune disease that can cause a wide range of debilitating, hard to pin down effects on the body. It can start with fever, headache, and other flu-like symptoms, and then if it goes untreated, it can get a lot worse, messing up memory, causing inflammation of the brain and spinal cord. You can go blind from it. The longer it goes untreated, the more brutal the list of ailments it can cause. And for a long time, doctors didn't even want to diagnose Lyme, let alone treat it. That's where the conspiracy comes in. Lyme disease has been around since the 1970s, and it's named after Lyme, Connecticut, because that's where it first showed up. And that's right near Plum Island, which hosted the government's Animal Disease Center. There's lots of theories about how the government was using that center to conduct nefarious experiments on animals and also on ticks. Lyme is transmitted through ticks, and it magically first appeared right near Plum Island. And for decades, the medical community and government refused to even acknowledge Lyme was real. Add to that the fact that the CDC is now studying Lyme as a possible bioterrorism agent, and you get a pretty tight conspiracy theory that the government created Lyme disease. So that's the conspiracy. Now let's get to the plain fact. New research published in the Journal of Medical Entomology reveals that there has been a 320% increase in the number of counties in the Northeast US that are considered high risk for Lyme. And overall, more than 45% of all American counties now have ticks that carry Lyme. That's almost half the country. They're just everywhere now, when 20 years ago, they were only right around Plum Island, pretty much. Now there's no doubt its reach is spreading. But at least now doctors aren't as reluctant to diagnose it. Currently, around 300,000 people are diagnosed with Lyme every year. At least now it's being acknowledged as real by the medical community, so people who get bit by an infected tick have a better chance of catching it early and containing its effects. So who knows if the conspiracy theory is real or not? The bottom line is the fact that Lyme-carrying ticks are now spreading is definitely real. And overall, more than 45% of all American counties now have ticks that carry Lyme. That's almost half the country.
A month after falling into a coma in 2014, Alan Shepherd from Aylesbury was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, a debilitating neurological condition.
I can't talk and move.
It was really devastating. We didn't know what to think. It didn't add up. None of it added up. That someone could walk into hospital and the next being paralysed and then on a ventilator.
Then Alan developed a bullseye-shaped rash on his leg. A few months later, their pet dog died from Lyme disease.
She picked up Lyme disease from her garden because she had ticks on her, and then all these pieces come together that it was Lyme disease. But the doctors didn't really know about Lyme disease in the ICU. They did a test, it was negative.
Lyme disease is a bacterial infection passed on from ticks. It can be treated with antibiotics if caught early, but if treatment's delayed or the disease is misdiagnosed, it can lead to serious long-term problems. Simone and her mum spent £2,000 on private blood tests in Germany. The results came back positive for Lyme disease. Alan's doctors agreed to put him on antibiotic treatment for a fortnight. His family says that's when his movements started to return.
After they'd seen he was regaining movements, they said, it's all in your head and we weren't giving you any more treatment. And then they didn't want to talk about it no more. They just said, you've got MMD and that is the end of it.
Those in charge of Alan's care said they were unable to comment on his specific case. Instead, they referred us to NHS guidelines, which include that patients with the bullseye rash should be treated with antibiotics, and that early treatment is important to prevent the spread of the disease.
Not many people know that I'm sick.
When we moved to where we are now, and people we bought the house from, they had said to us, be careful of Lyme disease, and then we met all the neighbors. Every house had at least one case, and many houses, all of the family had been infected. All of them were sick.
It started when I was 7 years old. It's affected every part of my life and who I am as a person. The pain is never ending.
I went from being like a gifted athlete to, there's times it's hard to put a shirt on.
I used to do ballet. I was really confused when the doctors told me there was nothing wrong with me and I was just making it all up.
It's extremely implausible that there is a chronic infection, chronic Lyme disease. It's kind of the disease du jour.
Ow. Some infectious disease doctors, they don't believe in Lyme, and they said that I was faking it and pretending so I could get out of school.
My case, which could have been controlled with a single bottle of doxycycline, at the time I was bitten, would have cost $25 or $50. As it is, I'm guessing that my case is now amounted to $75,000 to $100,000.
I've been misdiagnosed as having chronic fatigue syndrome, lupus,
MS, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue,
lupus, fibromyalgia, MS,
chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, ALS to MS to nothing.
We've done your labs. Your labs are fine. You're fine.
I think it's all psychosomatic. I don't think you are ill.
There's no medicine for someone like you. You're an attractive girl, and obviously, you don't feel like you're getting enough attention.
We allege that Dr. Jones prescribed an antibiotic to a patient he did not know and had never examined.
I suppose it's no surprise that the person being charged is one of the foremost Lyme disease practitioners in the country.
Lyme is the fastest growing infectious disease in the country. 200,000 new cases a year, maybe even more.
It is a political disease and an economic disease as much as it is a bacterial-borne infection.
I would never have thought that something like a bacteriological infection can become so politicized, the truth can be so brutally distorted.
Dr. Jim Seck's license is suspended for 1 year. That concludes the hearing in this matter.
It won't be too long before some of the critics have family members who have Lyme disease because it's the next tsunami. And when they do, and if they're sick, they'll want to come to me.
What's at stake is life or death.
maybe my death can help other people so they don't have to suffer as I had suffered for so long.
Anxiety about Lyme disease is a big problem. We know for certain that patients who do have Lyme disease can be treated. More than 95% of them get better without any problems. That's really the bottom line.
I was treated and then considered cured and went on to have 2 more children, which I then gave it to them congenitally. And they have been very ill.
So it passed on through the placenta, through the cord blood, through my 4 children.
Here comes.
We don't know if the medication has kept the bacteria only in my body and don't know if it's been transmitted.
Transmission of Lyme disease to a fetus has been of concern to patients. There has not been one documented case of congenital Lyme disease.
While we're battling between what's right and what's wrong, the patients are all suffering.
Before my Lyme disease got so bad, I was able to talk. Now I have to use a communication device.
This is what happens when you don't get diagnosed and you don't get some kind of treatment.
Multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, ALS. Could it be that some of the cases of spinal cord degeneration are actually due to a sneaky manifestation of Lyme disease?
I'm sitting here in a wheelchair and I can't do things. I can't be normal like other people.
There is a voice saying, you can end it.
I go into despair daily. I cry daily. I want to die daily.
Well, when I saw this doctor, you know, he said, you've got a long road ahead of you. It's not going to be easy. So that scared me. The unknown is pretty scary.
It is a national health crisis that is completely and totally being ignored and squashed. What is going on?